Hello, everyone. My name is Rose Lepis. Today, we will focus on the power of scientific argumentation. But first, what is it? At its core, scientific argumentation is about making claims, supporting them with evidence, and explaining how that evidence backs up the claim. It's not just arguing, it's building a reasoned case, just like scientists do. This practice is all about developing explanations and using evidence to support claims. By engaging students in argumentation, we're helping them master these essential skills. There are many key benefits when engaging students in argumentation. Benefits include deepening conceptual understanding, critical thinking skills, and enhanced communication and collaboration. Moving beyond memorization to true understanding. When students have to explain why something happens or how it works, they can't just recall facts. They have to actively process information and connect it to evidence. This is where the real learning happens. Instead of just memorizing the definition of photosynthesis, for example, a student who argues about it might need to explain how light energy is converted into chemical energy using specific examples of plant responses.
Hi, I'm Shannon, and I will be talking about the instructional strategies, tools, and technology our group recommends for supporting scientific argumentation in the classroom. Sentence frames and argument starters give second grade students the language they need to participate in scientific discussions. Some students know what they observed during the investigation, but they don't always know how to explain what they're thinking or how to respond to their classmates' ideas. So, providing sentence frames like my claim is, or my evidence is, or I agree help students organize their thoughts and explain their ideas using science vocabulary. For this lesson, I would also provide the students with a word bank and vocabulary such as reversible, irreversible, evidence, claim, melting, and cooling. These supports help students focus on sharing their ideas instead of spending time trying to figure out how to say them. I can gradually remove these supports as they become more comfortable explaining their thinking on their own. A claim, evidence, and reasoning, also known as just abbreviation CER, is a graphic organizer which gives students a step-by-step way to organize their thinking. First, students decide on their claim by determining whether the change they observed is reversible or irreversible. Next, they record the evidence by writing down what they observed during the investigation. Finally, they explain why their evidence supports their claim. For example, after watching chocolate melt and then harden again, students could say that the change is reversible because the chocolate turned solid again after it cooled. Using a CER organizer helps students connect their observations to their claim so they can explain their thinking during class discussions. Each student or group gets one slide in a shared Google Slides deck. They add a picture from their investigation along with their claim and evidence. Then the class looks at everyone's slides together, compares claims, discusses the evidence, and talks about how different groups reached their conclusions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamalicia. I will be going over the collaborative group activity that our team came up with to help students engage in scientific argumentation. Students will work in small teams to test these ideas, share claims, and use evidence. The collaborative group activity is the Melt and Freeze Mystery Team activity. And students will be divided into small groups, and each group will receive 3 cups, one with chocolate chips, one with butter, and one with ice cubes. Now, students will work in um, small teams, and they will be able to discuss within each other on what they think or what they are going to predict is going to happen to the chocolate or predict what is going to happen to the ice. Which one's going to take longer in the sun? Which one's going to take the slowest time to melt? Um, excuse me. This is a classic hands-on activity that allows students to engage in scientific argumentation and investigate which object will melt the fastest. This activity also encourages critical thinking and curiosity and enhances their um, argumentative skills. Students will be practicing formulating hypotheses, gathering materials, and testing variables while drawing conclusions. Um, this activity also encourages cognitive scientific development along with critical thinking. Again, students will be able to observe which variable melts the fastest, and then they will work together and predict, share roles, and collect investigation in this group activity. Hello, everyone. This example demonstrates exactly how students can use evidence from a direct investigation. The claim answers the question, and the evidence describes the observations, and the reasoning connects the observations to the scientific concept. Students may initially say that the ice disappeared. The teacher can use questioning to help students understand that ice did not disappear. It changed into liquid water. This is an opportunity to address the common misconception about changes in matter. Here is another argumentation example on heat. This example allows students to compare a reversible change with an irreversible change. Because burning should be demonstrated by a teacher rather than performed by young students, the teacher can definitely use a demonstration, video, or photograph sequence. The key instructional point is that not all changes caused by heating are reversible. Students should use evidence to compare the changes and explain why one can be reversed and while the other cannot. This is a great opportunity for students to really take the time to see how different one another's thinking is, because one student may think that it is reversible while the other student may think that it's not, and it's good for them to understand why they think that way. And this is where the teacher can come in and have these demonstrations and then be able to show the students exactly where the misconception was and where the correct answer is.
Differentiation is important because students will enter the lesson with different academic language and learning needs. Students with exceptionalities may benefit from visual directions, hands-on activities, flexible grouping, and alternative ways to communicate their arguments. Gifted students can extend their learning by investigating new materials or designing their own questions. English learners benefit from visuals, gestures, vocabulary instruction, and opportunities to discuss their ideas with their peers. Early finishers should not simply receive an extra worksheet. Instead, they can extend their investigations by developing a new question and analyzing an additional example.